on the square root of 500, what you do is, first of all, you try to simplify the 500. So which is the biggest perfect square root number that goes into 500?
I guess
It's 100, right? And 100 times 5 is 500. Then you rewrite the square root of 100 and the square root of 5 separately. What's the square root of 100? It's 10. So this right here, you don't write it anymore, you just put 10. So the 6 that is outside, then you multiply by what's coming from the square root of 100, which is 10, and that gives you 60. And the 5 cannot be simplified anymore, you just rewrite it. So 6 square root of 5.
So it would be like the number that goes
16
mostly
square root
into
of
15 would be 3.
The number that, the biggest perfect square root number that goes into 500.
I know, I know.
On this one, into 5 or into 15? This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, into 15. Is there a perfect square root number that goes into 15? No. So since there's no number, that is already in simplified form. You just rewrite it. So there's no perfect square root number that divides into 15. So it is already in simplest form. You just leave it like that. And you're going to have some problems like those, okay?
But if it's 500, why can't you use 20?
If you have 500, if you can use 20, is 20 a perfect square root number?
But it's, I mean, like 200 instead of 100.
Okay, listen to the rule. Yes, you can do it any other way, but that's going to take you longer and longer and longer because you cannot leave the inside number unsimplified. The 20 times the 25, you're thinking about 20 times 25? Is that what you said?
20 times 20 equals 200.
It goes to what?
400.
But you want 500.
So why couldn't you just use square root of 20 and then cut it into fourths?
Why 20? What are you getting the 20 from?
Because like 400 and then if you cut it into fourths.
What 400? This is 500.
I know, never mind.
We're simplifying
You're
500.
hearing me, miss.
Yeah, don't worry about 500, okay. I mean, the 400 is 500. Okay, so now let's go ahead and try this now. Problem number 1. The rule is to get the greatest perfect square root number that goes into 24. What's the biggest number that goes into 24? 4. Okay, 4. So what we're going to do, we're going to rewrite. Let's rewrite the square root of 24 as a factor of, this is 4 times what? 4 to what? 4 times what gives you 24? Times 6. And then you rewrite that as 2 radicals. God bless you. Square root of 4, square root of 6. The perfect square root number is the one that simplifies. What is the square root of 4? 2. So the answer is 2
That's thinking.
square root of 6. And that's the simplest form. Okay? If you put the square root of 24 in the calculator and you put 2 square root of 6, the answer is going to be exactly the same thing. Now, can I stop here? Well, ask yourself, is the 6 a number that it can be divided by any other perfect square root number? And the answer is no, you cannot divide it by any other perfect square root number.
3?
The perfect square root numbers are 1, 4, 9, 16, and none of them go evenly into the 6. So you stop there, okay? What about 45? The biggest number that goes into 45 is 9, so it's 9 times 5. Then you rewrite it, square root of 9 times the square root of 5. What's the square root of 9? That is 3, and the square root of 5, you cannot simplify it anymore, so you leave it like that. So it's 3 square root of 5. 200, which is the biggest perfect square root number that goes into 200. 100, so it's 100 times what? Times 2. Then you rewrite this as 2 radicals, square root of 100, times the square root of 2. What's the square root of 100? That is 10 square root of 2. 2, you cannot simplify it anymore, you just leave it like that. 56, which is the perfect square root number that goes into 56?
6.
Okay, the perfect square root numbers are 1, 4, 9, 16.
7.
7 is not a perfect square root number.
4.
4. 4? Okay, so yes it is, 4. 4 times what gives you 56?
14.
14. Then you rewrite it as two perfect square root, as two radicals, square root of 4, square root of 14, and the square root of 4 is 2, and then the square root of 14.
Well, it's not that hard. It looks harder than it looks.
Right, yes. So the thing is, that the key is to know the perfect square root numbers, right? Now, square root of 125, which is the greatest perfect square root number that goes into 125? 10 is not a perfect square root number, and it doesn't go. 25. 25 times what gives you 125?
5.
5. Then you rewrite it as two radicals, square root of 25 and the square root of 5. What's the square root of 25? 5 square root of 5. And that's the answer.
On number 2, how'd you get 9.5?
Is 9 times 5.
So how'd you get the 9?
Isn't it 9 times 5, 45? And 9 is the biggest perfect square root number that goes into 45. Right, so that's all I did.
But 9 times 9 is
That's 81. We're looking for 45. You need to get numbers, and when you multiply them, it's equal to 45. But one of the numbers has to be a perfect square root number. So you look for the greatest perfect square root number that goes into 45, and that's 9. Got it? Okay, next, what about in number 6? What do you decide to use for square root of 80? And let me show you a little trick on how to get that, okay? Let me just... So once you put in the calculator y equals 80 divided by x, and you get the factors, the biggest factor is 16. See, 4 was, but it's not the greatest factor. So 16 is, and then you rewrite it. Square root of 16, square root of 5, and the square root of 16 is 4. You cannot simplify square root of 5 anymore, so just leave it like that. Okay? 63. Can anybody tell me what are the factors of 63? 9 times 7, that is right. So square root of 9, square root of 7. Square root of 9 is what? 3, and then just rewrite square root of 7. That's it. 12, which is the greatest perfect square root number that goes into 12?
4.
4 is, that is right. So 4 times 3, then you rewrite it. Square root of 4 is what? 2, so it's 2 square root of 3. Number 9, which is the greatest perfect square root number that goes into 18? 9, right? 9 times what? 9 times 2. You rewrite it. Square root of 9. It's 3, so it's 3 square root of 2. 50. What are the
25.
factors? 25 times
2.
2. Roman, you're great at factors. 25 square root of 2. What's the square root of 25? 5. 5 square root of 2. Awesome. Now 98. Any of you know which is the greatest perfect square root number that goes into 98? It's not. Okay, let's check with the calculator. For the factors are 49 times 2, and the square root of 49 is 7, right? Great. So 7 square root of 2. Problem number 12. Okay, so in number 12, let's simplify the inside first. So we keep the 3 and the 128. Which is the greatest perfect square root number that goes into 28? 16? Is the 16 the greatest number? 16 divided into 128. 64? Times 2. Awesome. That is the greatest number. Yes. So it's 64. Good job, Matthew. Times 2. So this is 3 square root of 64 square root of 2. Again, here, square root of 64 is what? Is 8. Keep the radical 2. 3 times 8. 24. And then a square root of 2. Number 13. Which Which is the greatest perfect square? Go ahead and try number 13 all the way to 15. See if you can do those three. So for number 13, any volunteers? What are the factors of 28? What was that? 4 times 7?
So did you say it had to be bigger?
I believe 4 is the biggest number that goes into 28. Because 9 doesn't go, 16 doesn't go.
Multiply these by 14 next to that you can find.
Right, so then 14 is not a perfect square root number, neither is it 2. So I cannot use those two numbers. It's got to be one of them has to be a perfect square root number, so be careful. So it's 5 square root of 4, square root of 7. What's the square root of 4? 2. So it's 5 times 2, square root of 7, and the answer is 10 square root of 7. That's right. And now for the second one, number 14. Who got the factors of 60? 6 is not a perfect square root number. 10 is not a perfect square root number. Any other one?
30.
30 is not a perfect square root number.
5.
4 times 15 are the factors, and 4 is the biggest perfect square root number. Good job, Jessica. So it's
5 isn't.
square root of 4, square root of 15. The square root of 4 is,
What goes into 15?
4 times 15 is 60. 4 is a perfect square root number. So that's the one that simplifies. What's the square root of 4?
2.
That is 2. And 9 times 2 is 18. So it's 18 square root of 15. Who got the factors of 150? 25 times what?
6.
Times 6. That is right. 25 times 6, square root of 25, square root of 6. And the square root of 25 is what? 5. And then negative 2 times 5 is negative 10, square root of 6. Yes. Okay, now let's go ahead and do number 16. Let me give you the worksheet. 9 times 8, but 9 is not the biggest number that goes into that. 36 is, be very careful. Yes, it's 36 times 2. So this is 36 times 2. So is the square root of 36 the one that factors out, that simplifies?
Good morning, Mickey Roll Warriors. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, let's rise, guys, please.